It's the matchup presented by Draftkings. I'm your host, Travis Fulton. Thank you for making us part of your day. Welcome back in as we put a bow on the PGA Tour season that was. Congratulations, Dustin Johnson. You are, no question, the best player in the world and the FedEx Cup champion. A cool $15 million extra to go into that account. Hopefully you've been watching the show because you've had a few bucks probably flowing into your account as well if you've been following some of these picks. We are on a good run here last 3 weeks. The playoffs have been good to us, made some nice money last week with some of the lineups, and we want to keep that mojo going into the new season now as we kick off the 2020-2021 season on the PGA Tour. The first of 50 events, 6 major championships, 3 WGCs, the Players, the Olympics, the Ryder Cup. This is the super season. This is going to be awesome, and we kick it off here at Silver Auto Resort and Spa. The North Course, the Safeway Open is what it's called, and we are back finally on a par 72. How about that? 4 par 5s, including 2 of the last 3, 16 and 18. Always good for some good fireworks. Cameron Champ won this event last year. He is not in the field. He has taken the week off with Dustin Johnson to prepare for the U.S. Open, which is next week. We'll be back for a special show on that. Brendan Steele is in the field. He won this event back in 2017 and 2018. Emiliano Grillo, he's in the field. He won it in 2016. So what kind of player are we looking for? We've had a bomber win here. We've had kind of that plotter win here. Been spending a lot of time here in the model. And when you look at the model and you look at the statistics here, strokes gained approach and strokes gained putting this week, they are mono-e-mono. They are leveled out. If you watch this, so of course, strokes gained approach is always up there. But strokes gained putting to some degree is always underneath, and that gap will vary. But this week, boom, they are leveled out. Anytime you start throwing that word POA around, you can just kind of flip everything upside down to some degree. And this week, strokes gained approach, strokes gained putting, they are 1 and 1A. Now, underneath that, and again leveled out, strokes gained off the tee and strokes gained short game. So you've got these two up top, approach and putting with that POA influence, and then underneath that, you're going to go short game and off the tee leveled out. So we've been kind of moving the model around in here. We got a lot of names mixing in. Who are some of the guys that I like this week to kick off the first of 50 tournaments, the super season on the PGA Tour? Let's get to it. Matchup number 1, Phil Mickelson versus Jordan Spieth. I know, I'm a homer. I had to start with the headliners this week at the Safeway Open, and why not? Phil Mickelson, he's been playing some great golf as of late. Did you see him make his debut on PGA Tour Champions? He shot 22 under in 3 rounds to win in the Ozark, played some terrific golf. Phil's been talking about how good he's been playing. It just hadn't translated completely on the regular tour, but he comes to a venue that he likes. He's played well here. It's the 6th year in a row that he's played in Napa Valley. He's won 44 times, people, on the PGA Tour. Just get him in contention, and he can get the job done. This is a weaker field, so why not Phil Mickelson? He was T18 here in 2016, T3 in 2017, T17 in 2018, and he missed the cut in 2019, but we'll move on from that. You're going to have to pay for him. $10,600 is where he's at in Draftkings. You look at his stats for the year, and I think Phil would probably tell you that he's been playing better golf than his stats show. But you are who you are, right? And where you finished. Strokes gained off the tee, 111th. We know Phil's going to spray it around a little bit, but not overly penal here, it appears, on the North Course. So you can miss some fairways. They are kind of tight, but you can still scramble and get it around, as Phil has done. Strokes gained approach, he's 134th. I think Phil's probably hitting a little better in the approach game as of right now. Strokes gained around the green, 14th. Can still get it done. Strokes gained putting, 130th. He can handle the POA, though, right? You put that POA in there, Phil's name pops up. Not worried about Phil on these kinds of greens. Strokes gained total for the year on the PGA Tour, 102nd. You go through the model here, and you start plugging in like the last 24 rounds on this golf course, the guys that are in the field. Phil Mickelson is up there near the top. Phil Mickelson, he's going against Jordan Spieth. This is his first time playing the event. He's at 9,800. He's got 11 wins on the PGA Tour. You look at these stats, man, they're hard to say. Strokes gained off the tee, 169. Strokes gained approach, 99th. That's getting better, though. We'll get to that in a second. Strokes gained around the green, 19th. Strokes gained putting, 111th. Strokes gained total, 130. Be interesting to see where are we at with Jordan Spieth. We seem to be asking that question quite often. You go into Jordan Spieth here and just kind of some recent trends. We know this is not the same Jordan Spieth that was clipping off major championships and those 11 wins on the PGA Tour. But I've been saying it for a couple months here. Spieth is kind of piecing it back together in the approach game at least. Off the tee is still a bit of a question mark for me. He still hits those one or two big foul balls, but the approach game, in his last 4 events, he's been in the positive. Memorial, where he finished 13th, positive 4.7 in the approach game. St. Jude, positive 2.7. PGA Championship, positive 0.1. Northern Trust, positive 2.6. He didn't putt good at the Northern Trust. He didn't putt good at the PGA. So I like this trend, I'll call it, in the approach game. He's starting to show back up in the plus. His short game is still good around the greens. I still think he's one of the best players around, and I think his putting will be fine. He's had some good putting weeks in there, including the Schwab, where he finished 10th. He was positive 8.6. Mexico, positive 6.3. So it's still a little up and down, right? We know Spieth's not all the way back, but I do think he's piecing it together. I am not going to play Spieth this week, but I am here to tell you he's going to continue to get this thing back. He is a genius golfer. His approach game's moving in the right direction. I'm not worried about his putting and short game. It's just keeping the miss in play, and when he does that, the genius will continue to take over. That is Jordan Spieth, and he will rack up some top 10s. But this week, it's the lefty. He's playing good. He's got to be in a couple lineups, doesn't he? Phil over Spieth. Matchup number 2, Brendan Steele versus Cameron Davis. I like this matchup here. We know Brendan Steele, I mentioned in the opener, has won this tournament 2 times, loves it out in Napa Valley. Here comes Cameron Davis, a player that I like a lot. Now, I built my model here in Fantasy National based off what I talked about in the opener. And with last 24 rounds, who are the guys that we need to be looking at? You know who ranks number 1? Cameron Davis. There he is. Number 2, Brendan Steele. Now, Brendan Steele, a little bit more obvious, right, because of his previous success here, but there's Cameron Davis. Henrik Norlander at 3, certainly someone that I'm going to be playing this week. Siwoo Kim has been playing some good golf. You got to look at him at 4. Cameron Tringali, of course, you know you're going to get the approach game in the field. Strokes gain approach, he's 3rd. Strokes gain putting, he's 30th. Question is, can he close it out? But someone that'll be certainly lingering around. I like Sam Burns again this week. I play him from time to time. He'll be someone in there. Doc Redman, Taylor Gooch, Brandon Haggy, and also Will Gordon, someone that I think has a chance to make some noise here at Silver Auto. So those are some of the names in my model that I'm going to be kind of moving around. But in the matchup here, let's talk about Brendan Steele and Cameron Davis. Brendan Steele, you look at him for the season, strokes gained off the tee, he's 85th. 303 yards, okay? So let me apologize here for a second. Brendan Steele is not a plotter. I may have referred to him as a plotter at one point. He's not a plotter. He's a bomber. 303. 38th on the PGA Tour. Goodness gracious, he's busting it out there. Strokes gained approach, 16th. So good there. Just hits this little boring draw. Works with Rick Smith. I've talked to Rick about Brendan's swing and what he works on and those things, and he just hits this nice little baby draw. And if you follow my instruction, you know I love that Operation Baby Draw, and Brendan Steele does it to perfection. Around the green, he's 108th. Strokes gained putting, he's 73rd. He does okay with the POA influence. Strokes gained total, he's 32nd. You look at some of his recent form. Brendan Steele, T33 at the BMW, T44 at the Northern Trust. He finished T22 at the PGA. T13 at Memorial, and then T52 at Workday Charity. His name's popped up there a little bit. Someone that I don't think is playing quite the golf that we saw back in March there at the Honda. He was fourth at the Honda. They came back after post-COVID. He was sixth at the Travelers, but just kind of hanging in there. Nothing great. Nothing too bad. But he's going back to some home cooking here out there where he has won twice. Now going against Cameron Davis, a player that I really like, and a player that's trending, does okay with the POA, not great on Bermuda, better on Bent and POA. So someone that you certainly got to be looking at here. He was 12th at the 3M Open, where he popped up the leaderboard there, and then also at the Northern Trust, where he was 29th. And you get into this model here that spits him out number one in the field. Strokes gain approach, he's 30th. Strokes gain putting, he's 13th. Strokes gain total, he is second. This is the last 24 rounds coming in. So he's trending for the season. Not bad. Strokes gain approach, 71st. Strokes gain putting, 110th. So an interesting player that's going to get a lot of respect here, coming in at 8,900. Brendan Steele certainly going to be one of the favorites in what he's done here. I'll tell you what, I like this Cameron Davis player. I think I'm going to be playing him in multiple cards at 8,900. I know Brendan Steele is the YZ veteran, but I'm giving the nod to Davis over Steele. Match number 3, Maverick McNealy versus Will Gordon. Let's go a couple of the young guys here that could make some noise in a relatively weak field. Maverick McNealy, of course, went to Stanford, familiar with these California grasses. Someone that I'm coming at from a strokes gain putting standpoint, very good statistically. And then Will Gordon, young player out of Vanderbilt. This will be his, I believe, 10th start, somewhere in there on the PGA Tour. A powerful player, kind of coming from that Cameron Champ model, who was the champ here last year. So you look at Maverick McNealy, some things that I like from McNealy, showing some good form, kind of trending the right way. Had a tough middle of the summer, had 3 consecutive missed cuts. He did have an 8th at the Rocket Mortgage, but he got into the playoffs, 61st at the Northern Trust, 40th at the BMW. And then you go back to earlier in the year, and particularly out on the West Coast swing, 5th at the AT&T, 15th at the Farmers, 37th at the American Express. So I like Maverick. I think he has some value here at 7,300, and certainly I think could make some noise. Some other putters that are in the field to look at. Denny McCarthy now, back-to-back title, strokes gained putting on the PGA Tour. You certainly got to look at him. Patrick Rogers, a player that I seem to look at a lot on certain weeks. I'm looking at him a lot this week. Brilliant putter. Went to Stanford. These California grasses don't bother him at all. He was 9th at the Farmers. But his approach game, it's just, it gets so erratic from time to time. He at the Wyndham, he lost 5. And then the last time we saw him at the Northern Trust, he lost 8 in strokes gain approach. So who knows? Perhaps he's cleaned some things up with his coach, Jeff Smith. And if he can do enough in the approach game, he's a good putter, and I can certainly see him doing very well here. But Maverick McNealy is my guy, I think, from the strokes gained putting standpoint. And I've got him going against Will Gordon, coming at it from a power standpoint. Will Gordon is 308 yards off the tee. Strokes gained off the tee, he's 14th. Approach game, not great, but 8,200. Okay, 8,200, getting a little bit of respect here. This is a young player, works with Justin Parsons. I talked about Justin Parsons, the podcast that I did with him. We talked about Will quite a bit, and there's been some good performances here from this young player. He was 10th at the RCM back in November in 2019. He was 21st at the Farmers, 3rd at the Travelers, played beautiful there. Last time we saw him back in the middle of August, he was 27th at the Wyndham, hit the ball good, lost 1.7 in putting. So we get him out there. Weak field, power game. Perhaps Will Gordon could have a good putting week. If you're going at it from a ball striking standpoint, you could throw another Doc Redman kind of player in there. He struggles on Poe. I'm probably going to pass on Doc, although he ranks out pretty good in my model, as I mentioned earlier in the show. Robbie Shelton, another player that I think I'll be playing some at 7,100. So those are some names from a value pick standpoint. Interesting field, a bit of a weaker field this week. We have been treated to some great fields in golf. But as we kick it off here at the Safeway Open, those are some names that I will be looking at and filling out my lineups in Draftkings. Get into the big game. Download the app. Promo code Travis gets you a free entry into the big game. $750,000 total purse, $200,000 to the winner. And once you're in there, then get into my game, the Stripe Show. The Stripe Show game where we give away prizes, free golf balls, hybrids to the winner as well. Thank you for joining me here on the matchup, the Safeway Open. We will be back next week for a special edition for the U.S. Open. Have a great week, everybody.